is in 1635. It was a British ship coming across. In September of 1903, there were actually 2 vessels that sank in the same storm right off the lighthouse. And of the first vessel, there were 15 crewmen and a captain on board, and 13 of the crewmen and the captain all died in that storm. The other 2 managed to wash up on shore, and the other boat, no one survived the wreck. In an interesting coincidence, though, the man who went and interviewed the 2 survivors from that wreck, his body, mysteriously was found dead on the same beach exactly 45 years later to the day. And there was no explanation for how he died. It was apparently a very sudden death.
Spooky.
Yeah. In the lighthouse keeper's quarters, specifically here, there is a woman in a red shawl who sits in front of the fireplace. She's shivering. She's soaking wet. She's in period dress from the 1800s. And she just stares silently at the fireplace. So she's called the Iconic Woman, and she just hangs out and waits. And so there's some speculation. No one knows exactly who this woman is, but the speculation is that she is the wife or the girlfriend or something of one of the sailors who was lost off the point, and she's just there waiting for him. One of the other ideas is maybe she was actually involved in one of the shipwrecks, and she managed to make it to shore and then sits trying to dry herself off in the fire. But I think that's very scary to come down and there's just this wet lady sitting there staring at the fire.
That's really sad.
Yeah. Would you like to go and stay there at night?
I could stay there. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You can.
I like Maine.
I think we established that.
Yeah.
You can actually rent out the Pemaquid Lighthouse. It's $1,200 to rent it for a week. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. There's 1 queen bed plus a pull-out sofa. And you could hang out there and wait to see if the lady in the red shawl, the Iconic Woman, shows up.
I'd do that. Yeah, that sounds romantic.
Oh, okay. I'm sure that it's an absolutely lovely place. It's not actually on an island, though. It's just on a point. So you can drive right out there.
That's great, because I don't like being on boats.
Are you sure you're one of our family?
I'm deathly allergic to the ocean. And no, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're from the other side of the family.
I was going to say, I'm a child's through and through. Yeah, there's no confusing that.
We're all boat people. Sorry. That's it for my lighthouse stories. At least from Maine for this week.
Yeah. Good stories.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Lighthouse stories are fun.
Yeah. Lighthouses are romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Kat, the one who has Don't Take Pictures, and you can buy her magazine at don'ttakepictures.com, which I wrote a story about ghosts and museums. She is from Maine, and she grew up right next to a lighthouse.
Nice.
And she lived on a boat for a year.
Did it have a ghost?
No.
Oh, well.
Maybe, actually. I don't think so. I feel she would have told me about that by now.
Maybe. Maybe it was a terrifying ghost and she blocked it out.
No, I don't think so. If it was a terrifying ghost, we've been very good friends for 12 years. So I think being that I do this, she'd probably be like, oh, by the way,
all right,
there was a really scary ghost.
Yeah. All right, cool. We have anything else we want to talk about this week?
Are we going to do stories?
Of course we're going to do a story.
Okay.
Have a look at this.
And you know what that sound clip means?
Donut time?
Oh, you didn't get me a donut, remember?
They didn't have any vegan donuts. No. I asked. I even asked if the other location had vegan donuts, and she said, unfortunately not.
It's fine. Anyway, the sound clip means Daniel's story time. Let's go.
I rented a unit in an inner suburb for a couple of years, and what initially started as the feeling of someone constantly standing just behind my right shoulder turned into some seriously freakish events that would have made people think they were going crazy or scared them if it wasn't for the fact that they had a funny side and never harmed anyone. Literally, a person could put a mug on the bench to make a hot drink, turn around to pick up the kettle, and 2 seconds later turn around to find the mug gone. Sometimes turning up elsewhere in the house or back in the same spot later in the day. A friend visiting slept over in the spare room one night and called out to ask why I was standing in the doorway. He could tell by the sound of my voice that I was sitting in bed in the next room, and he asked who it was then, and I informed him it was the resident ghost, who meant no harm. One day, after calling the ghost Fred for ages, I decided I needed to find out who he was. I stood in front of a 1-meter square mirror that was dirty and greasy, shocking ventilation in the living area, not my laziness, and told him he could freely use my energy to try and write his name in the mirror. 5 minutes of staring at the mirror and nothing happened. But I turned away for a couple of seconds to look at the time, and when I turned back, there in the bottom right of the mirror, clearly written in cursive like it had been done with a finger, was the name Jake, and in places the letters had scratched into the glass.
Wow. Spooky. That's very spooky.
I asked the people upstairs if they knew of anyone ever dying in the unit, and they said that yes, a young man died of a drug overdose in the first year they lived there. He died in front of the bathroom door, where most sightings of him were made by other visitors. They said he was a lovely man, hilarious sense of humor, always playing pranks on friends, and his name was Jake. Oh, wow. The friend that slept over and I went back to visit about 18 months after I moved out, and the new tenant opened up about weird events when we asked him about it. We said to just call him Jake, and rest assured he will cause no harm, and never hides full cups.
Spooky. Good story, Daniel. Another good story. I like it.
And I'm very glad that your ghost didn't hide full cups on you. I would be mad if I made like something to drink and turned around and it was gone.
Yeah, that'd be annoying.
Very much so. That would be a harmful ghost. Especially if we were talking coffee in the morning.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'd be having it out with that ghost.
Yeah.
And by having it out, I mean I would be moving somewhere else.
So, Beth.
So, Amelia.
I got something cool to tell you about.
Oh. Okay.
Related to Daniel and his stories.
All right. Go for it.
Did you know Daniel is recording a story for us?
Yes! Thank you, Daniel.
With sound effects.
Nice.
He's doing full production on this story, and we should have it by Halloween.
Awesome.
Yes, I can't wait.
How long do you think it'll be?
I have no idea.
Do we have to do an episode that week, or can it just be the Daniel show?
We'll find out. Daniel, I know you're listening, so if you want to make it really long,
yeah,
have at it.
We could like introduce you and then just let you like run wild with it.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. That's very cool. I'm very excited.
I knew you would be.
Okay. How did you know he's sending that to us?
Because he sent me a message on Facebook.
I feel left out.
What? You have the login information for the account too, Beth.
What? He
sent it to our Facebook.
In the messenger or in like the...
In the messenger.
Oh yeah, I'm just me in messenger.
It's whatever.
I don't know how to use the internet.
Me either. It's okay. All right. Should we keep going?
Yes. I think that I have another story in here.
We gotta call the aquarium or something, dude.
And you know what that sound clip means. Time for another spooky story. From New England, told out of Arizona. Did I hear that this is going to be a Zoomass story?
This is going to be a Zoomass story. And
it's educational.
We're singing
that song
this
from
week.
the Pixies.
Okay.
This is UMass. Whatever, it's fine. It's a good song.
Oh.
I didn't do it justice.
Okay.
I'll play it for you later.
You sounded vaguely like Alice Cooper, though.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. In spring 2000, I lived in a dorm at UMass Amherst. Cashin in the Northwest dorms. Those were no man's land in the 90s. Drug deals, stabbings, one end the nefarious trail across a wooded part of campus, and suicides. These were the dorms that suicides happened. Of all the gnarly stories that happened to me when I was at UMass, my one semester living on campus, I got the haunted suicide suite. Okay, I'm one of those Western Mass punks, kinda hippie but into death metal. My dorm mate, a red-faced bro from Southie, accent as thick as an Adam Sandler character. He was alright. He moved out the first week. I was putting up Crass and Nausea posters, and he put up a St. Pauli girl poster.
Oh man, did you ever listen to Crass?
No.
Oh, they're a great band. I love that he just said that. Alright, keep going.
It would have been a different experience. The weekend he moved out, I was cleaning up, rearranging, hanging my posters on the concrete, and I sat down to rest and looked up at the ceiling. I looked up and saw a bunch of little circles where the paint was torn off the plaster. Like from those stick-on hooks everyone uses when they plan to move in 6 months. Being my morbid self, I immediately started thinking about how many of those it would take to hang myself from. How much weight can they hold, etc. And then I suddenly felt just not alone. Like there was just someone else in the room with me. So I got up to stretch my legs and say hi to my suite mates. A suite at this dorm is a cluster of about 4 rooms with a shared bathroom and a common room. There were like 4 or 5 suites in the hall. I see my neighbor sitting in the common room with a girl from across the hall. They had been flirty right off, and the conversation seemed heavy. I thought it was a really fast breakup conversation. I poked my head in, said hello, felt the heavy air, and excused myself. My neighbor said I had better sit down and hear what he was just told. The previous semester, a kid had hung himself in that room. Not mine. I was just next door. But he liked to visit me anyway. And of course, UMass just moved everyone except one guy out and never mentioned anything to the incoming group of kids. We all moved in during January. We looked at the pipe the kid used. It hadn't even been repainted. The rope marks were still there. Sorry, this just got gory. All right, this is getting longer than I anticipated, and I've got plans tonight. Let me know if you want part 2.
God bless you, Mike.
Yes, Mike. Yes, we want part 2.
Yes, we want part 2, but we also want you to party. So, I mean, when you get some time, send us over part 2.
Yeah, definitely. And he says, not for nothing, I'll be back in Massachusetts for a weekend in September. If you want to scope some of these spots, capital, let me know.
Word. And
right.
Also, I just want to say, because I feel like you should when you have podcasts and stuff, if you for any reason feel really sad or like a ghost is trying to possess you and make you hurt yourself, the National Suicide Prevention Helpline is 1-800-273-8255, or you can chat with them online. Don't let a ghost possess you into hurting yourself. That's really, really bad.
That might be like the most depressing thing that you've talked about on here.
Well, I just feel like it needs to be said, so I'm saying it. I think it's important. You don't want one of our listeners getting possessed by a ghost and hurting themselves. If you feel possession coming on,
then by all
call
means,
someone.
We should not do a Ouija board thing on the air here because we would have to take responsibility for that if anything were to happen to anyone who happened to have listened ever.
Oh, we would never do Ouija boards on air. Never, ever.
Oh, you didn't?
Just like George Norrie.
I did listen to the rest of the episode.
I appreciate that. All right. So, is that it for this week? We're in the past. We're way in the past, so we don't have 5-star reviews for this week because we're way back.
I think we did get a couple of reviews.
But
I just think that we didn't have the comments on those reviews. So, I believe that we're up into the 30s on our 5-star reviews now.
We are. We got some comments, but we're reading them on last week's episode because we're way in the past.
If you say so.
Yeah, so I don't want people to like feel left out, like they left it and like why aren't they reading it? Because we're in the past.
Okay.
We haven't seen it yet.
We have seen it.
We're going to time warp into the future.
Yeah. You guys.
But when you hear this, we've read it. I check it like 9 times a day. Please leave something there for me to look at. And oh my gosh, please don't leave us a 1-star review. If you don't think our show deserves 5 stars, send us a private message on Instagram, Facebook, you can email us, whatever. But we'd love to see some more 5-star reviews, so please feel free to leave them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you do reviews on Spotify or?
I don't think so. I don't know how Spotify works.
So my sister was telling me that she actually has listened to our podcast now, but she listens through Spotify.
A lot of people listen to Spotify.
Okay. So if you're listening on Spotify, thank you.
Thanks.
But can you also go into the Apple Podcasts and write us a 5-star review?
Or if you can't do that, you can go on Facebook and leave us a 5-star review.
Ooh, you can.
Yeah.
And you can like write a little review, and you know us. We like to read those on the show.
Yeah, we do. It feeds our ego.
It feeds Amelia's ego.
It feeds Amelia's ego. Amelia can't dance, but she can talk about ghosts.
That's not respected either.
Yeah, he didn't like that either. There's a lot he didn't like about me. All right, so moving on.
You can edit that right out.
I'm keeping it in because he listens. Yeah. Okay, so.
Listen to that.
Okay, so do we have anything else, Beth?
Thanks to Aaron. I can't say his last name. I always screw it up every time.
Thank you so much to Aaron Schilb for recording our music. You can check him out online at the Aaron Schilb on Instagram. So also, I recorded a podcast this week. It's going to come out at some point over the next few months. It's a new podcast. It's called Sharing Stories with Amelia and Beth. And you should go into the iTunes podcast thing and click subscribe to her new podcast. It's all about female empowerment and like women doing things. And I was so delighted and so honored to be asked to come on. Her episodes are about 15 minutes each. They're all really short, much shorter than ours. And I got to talk a little bit about what I do at work, but a lot about our podcast. So that was really cool and interesting. They were very interested in it, which I was kind of surprised about. So yeah, Sharing Stories with Amelia and Beth. You can find them on the iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Also, and I know we keep saying it, we're going to keep saying it out throughout the end of October, Kat Kiernan A good friend of mine from college, still a very close friend of mine. She has a magazine called Don't Take Pictures. You can check them out on